What's up, party people? My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. We're back another week, another interviews, amazing people, entrepreneurs. My first guest for the week will be a gentleman by the name of Nnamdi Okafor. He's a 15-year logistics veteran who ran a successful freight brokerage before founding Kargoplex. He's making global shipping as easy as booking a flight. With that said, I'm going to bring on the gentleman. How are you today?
I'm great, man. Nice to be here,
Cool.
Sonny.
Yeah, where are you calling in from, man?
I'm actually right now in Toronto.
Best city on earth. I'm a little bit
Yeah,
biased, but yeah.
especially in the
Uh,
summertime. Sure.
so I was about to read a little bit more, right? So you're building essentially a platform, building kind of like the AWS of shipping, right, with AI agents. Can you talk a little bit about what you're building at Cargoplex? Just high level. We'll keep it short for now, but we'll go deeper, obviously, later on in the conversation.
All right. Thank you very much for the intro. And yeah, at Kargoplex, we're doing something amazing. We're pretty much trying to build the AI operating layer for global shipping. I think at the short stint, that's pretty much what we're trying. We're trying to build the rail that will power the whole global logistics industry.
And how big is that industry? I mean, it's like we're talking about like this is ginormous, right?
Oh yeah, it's on I think as at 2026, it's estimated at about 12 trillion dollars industry annually. So that is the one industry that pretty much powers almost every aspect of our lives. Like everything you're doing, it
Right.
probably has to go through that industry.
Insane, crazy, crazy. So that's fascinating. You know, like I said, we're gonna go deeper into the company, but one of my favorite things to do is just to kind of understand like the why you're doing what you're doing and more like around your story itself, and then kind of landing on the company. So I was gonna ask you, you've spent what 16 years in logistics, right? Before you started Cargoplex. What did the industry look like from the inside when you started?
It was chaos. It still is chaotic too, as well. But like back then, obviously, it was way worse. Now we have at least a lot of the incumbents now are open to some of the technological advancements that's ongoing. But back then, it was like very much like I went into that industry sort of by mistake, to be honest. Like I was studying for computer science, so I never like I just went to ship a particular product for a client, a friend of our, like a friend of the family who wanted me to help him purchase something and send it back home, right? So I went in there and the whole process, and I did it a few times. I got some more people asking for more stuff, and I just started taking this, And as a computer scientist, I live in a world of fixing problems. Like our whole brain and the way we think is efficiency, like optimization, like. And I just went and I saw how, compared to every other industry I walk into, this particular one, like the guys that I'm talking to are millionaires, but like they're still operating with papers. Like they write down, like I'll be like, hey, can I get status for my shipping? You got to bring out a whole like large book and like flip through the pages to find my content and get me status. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. There's no way. And so that was sort of the thing that drove me in there. And I came in to try to optimize a lot of stuff. And before I knew it, I had this crazy successful freight brokerage that I didn't even know what to do. And this is like my second year of college while I'm studying computer science. Like, it was insane. I started doing a lot of consolidation and like I became like this guy that everybody like came to, and I didn't know why. I'm like I'm learning to, but as I'm learning, I felt like I was a maestro. Even the people in the industry started asking me questions, and I'm like, you got it. But then I started looking. I realized, a lot of these guys start mostly, especially when you come in the SMB aspect of logistics, not the large 3PL, like the not the big guys like the KNN and all those guys. No, but like the most of the small guys, a lot of them, you realize they were just either dropouts or people who just went in. It's like it's transportation. I just got to get a truck or get a warehouse and I do this, right? But they didn't think about the overarching, like, concept of running a business, especially on a global level, right? And that is the vision that I had that enabled them. So one of my mentors, who it's almost like he raised me, but then I ended up raising him in a way too, because he started teaching me a lot of stuff. And now I helped streamline his whole business to the point that at some point he wanted to sell it to me, to be honest. But I think that was a different world. And I was like, you know what? I'm facing something else. I got to fix this for everybody. I don't want to be operational. I think I want to sort of transcend out of that and fix the problem at a at an overview level. So that's kind of what the industry was. It was madness. Like think WhatsApp, phone calls, emails, like papers, like everything you can do just to consult or just to actually carry out one shipment. It was madness. 20 phone calls to get a quote, and then another 20 to get started. It was madness, madness. I don't know how we survived, but hey, I'm glad to be here now with a solution that actually would have saved me back then. I wish I had this when I started. I definitely would have done way better.
So that was going to be my next question, man. So like you built a freight brokerage while you were still in college, right? So how does a student end up moving millions of dollars of freight?
I don't even know either. Like it's just like now. That's one of the beauty about this industry. It takes you where you don't think. What I mean, it always like, and that's what keeps me excited because I just never know where I'll end up. But at that point, it really was just a thing of and this is the main thing that I realized, and this is one thing that I've picked out of the industry that a lot of people who are in here really don't, or a lot of people who are even trying to build solutions don't. Logistics, at first I thought it was like software, and the software part helps. It would have helped streamline some of the stuff and made it easier. But what I then realized was the real true problem in this industry is a trust problem, right? It's that trust and that neutrality. I think those are the two things I've noticed, and those are the two things we're tackling. That's the angle we're taking this whole solution at: trust and neutrality, right? Because the thing that helped me at the time was people, due to like unbeknownst to me, but I started building this reputation in the space, both especially back home and here. So I became that guy that you can rely on, because I would like fight for your cargo. Like I would take losses if I had to make sure you don't take the losses. So those little things started building this reputation, and people then now would come at me with different contracts. Hey, we need to bring this. We want to buy. Like I think there was a time the Nigerian government was trying to purchase what do you call it? Like when Toronto was trying to flip the old subway cars, right? And they were trying to sell it, like and they included me in that deal to at least just to help with the consultation. Recently, to another lady who started the first indigenous shipping line in Africa. Her name is the company is Clarion, and they bought a vessel from China, and we were part of the whole process of getting it. So what and it probably doesn't have a direct reflection on this, but it's more or less showing that in that industry, once you have trust, a lot of things move smoothly. A lot of the bottlenecks you get in today is because of lack of trust and lack of neutrality. Like people are using different systems and trying to protect their system. They don't want to really, because everybody's trying to protect their book of pretty much they're trying to protect their own books and not really expose it to this. But if you get a neutral party who can build a network that where I'm not an operator in this, I don't have any dog in the fight. I'm just trying to make it easier for this guy and this guy to communicate, and everybody's at peace. You will be surprised at the magic that will happen. And I think for the most part, that was what I got in the 15 years of me operating within that space. Was once you build trust and you're able to, show that people can truly collaborate or can really just focus on their part and leave the rest to whoever is on the other side, bro, the sky's the limit, pretty much.
And what did running that brokerage teach you that maybe like a software founder, would never learn from the outside?
Um, okay, well, the thing it taught me is at the crux of it, logistics is a people problem, not necessarily a software problem, right? And it's easy for us because I did have that moment where just if I do this and do this, even now as we're building calculus, we're learning. Like, and I always have to remind myself at the end of the day, it's a people's problem, it's a relationship problem. So it's less like once you get that people's problem solved, then yes, the software problem and the systems problem can flow through. But until you fix that, good luck. You can bring the best software, and if the people are not in on it, then yes. So I think that was one of the things that I learned very much, and it kind of like it humbled the craziness. Like this is not an industry you come in like. It's not like this is why I call it a very unsexy industry, because it's not like one of those industries where you come in with like, if I was in fintech or something, yeah, just build the best rail or the fastest, the system that can do the fastest transaction and send it in microseconds or something, yes, everybody will like, yes, we want that, right? If I can make the trade go faster. Here, it's more or less like it's still that people's problem. We still boil back to what I'm saying, trust and neutrality, right? So once you see that, then you work from that angle of like, okay, I gotta know the people. And this is sort of like this is govern some of the features and how we release and how we build some of our products, right? We're not like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Like one of the things we have is we were thinking and we realized a lot of the people we're trying to really move. These people they used to transacting on WhatsApp, right? I'm like, okay, we built this amazing place for them to come, right? Getting them to shift from what they're used to, it's possible, but it's gonna take and require like a whole, So rather than us wait for that, what we ended up doing is we decided to meet them where they were, right? So we're like, you know what? And thanks to, and this is the beauty of having AI and everything kind of like came together at the right time. And it's like now we don't necessarily need to even just port them directly. We come to them. So now you can still go through your WhatsApp, but you indirectly utilizing our services in our rail because now our AI agents are able to connect to your WhatsApp and actually process a booking, like book a shipment, give you status. So the same thing you'll have been doing where you'll have had to rely on a human to sit and read your message and respond. Now the AI agent that's already connected to the infrastructure can just quickly give you those updates. And if you ever wanted to, you can still go and switch. And it always works. So it always hand over to a human being. And at any point in time, a human can cut into like, get in there. But other than that, you have that. So that just shows you like some of the stuff where we realized we're like, you know what? Instead of doing it as one whole overhaul, let's just come there, get them, meet them where they are, and slowly, get them to see the beauty of wanting to, partake in this this new ecosystem that we're building.
And then there's a story where you were telling me you lost $600,000 to this problem personally. Can you walk
Yeah.
me through what actually happened there?
Oh yeah, sure. Definitely a painful period. Sometimes still hurts when I think about it because it was unnecessary. Like it was one of those losses that was just it really cemented it for me. And at that point, I was at a fork. It was two things. It was screw this industry and like I said I'm out. Let me focus on. I went to school for computer science. I'm supposed to be building like crazy. So I mean, I'm supposed to be part of the new AI like frontier team going like I'm like this was just a side hustle that took off and it got me excited and but I was really so it was that but then I realized it was not a front. I really love this industry. Like it was for some reason it's weird. Everybody like I've held this whole thing holding multiple jobs. Like I still had a 9 to 5. I worked at IBM. I had a startup I was working with, but I never let go of this for some reason. Like even when I did, even till today, people still call me up. Like it was like, and I guess maybe knowing that I was doing something that was real, it was like these things affected people. Like I'll give you an example. Just during the recent Strait of Hormuz blockage, now I'm getting people who are like, it's no longer, this is not even business. This is almost humanitarian. It felt like because they're like, yo, we're out of food, and we're trying to order food from here, and we need to figure out the logistics around it. Like, can you help? Do you know someone who can help with this and this? Like, now it has gone beyond just a normal software thing. Like I felt like I'm solving world problems. And so I was like, you know what? Will I let this 600 really make me like, abandon something that I feel super passionate about? Or is that a true reason why you really need to fix this problem or at least attempt to fix this problem, right? So at the time, yeah, the loss of the 600 was nuts. It was due to like just human errors and delays. A lot of it were demurrage, so like not being lack of coordination between the carriers and the ports, and then your containers end up sitting there, and then you're getting charged all these demurrage costs. By the time you get it now, like on like weird, like you get scammed or people just give you weird numbers for custom clearance, and it's not really what you budgeted for. And now, you gotta like come up with this money. So that's a loss on the books in terms of the business and whatnot. But a lot of it came from that whole thing, like just like I think one time they lost a container of ours. Yeah, they lost a container of ours, and it took how many weeks to find it? Like, and I could not understand. Like to me, like my head is blown because I'm like, I know this problem can be fixed. Like I wish they someone just give me a year and give me the whole global. Let me just be able. I don't even need. I'll do it for free. Just give me the whole global like access to the whole and tell me, okay, you know what, fix this. And that thing really hurt. But that was how it came about. It was just demurrage, loss of containers, extra charges with custom clearance, and also by the time you add the fact that in this particular one of them that added to it, the heavier chunk of the 600 loss obviously came from Nigeria, which at the time the volatility with the exchange rates too was like insane. So due to all those delays, now by the time you even go through that and you lost like maybe let's say at the time you're already down like 300K or so. By the time you end up getting the product and trying to do whatever you got to get the money back out, the exchange rate has already like tripled. So now another extra. So like just madness. But our aim is now. I think it's giving us. I call it a nice tuition fee. I call it like I paid. You know what I mean? I financed this problem. I didn't just discover it. I financed the problem. So I feel like you know what? Now I got it. Okay. I have every reason now and every conviction now to really want to get this done. And if I can get it done beyond the money, beyond the anything, like I think is people don't see it. I'm like this stuff affects your daily life. Like you go to the stores, the grocery stores, and you wonder why your broccoli has gone from $2 to $10 now. It's because of problems like this. Like you see how I took that loss. The difference is I'm a small guy, so most times the loss ends up with me. But sometimes with these bigger corporate, they'll pass it down to everybody. Like everybody's gonna feel it all the way down to the last. You know what I mean? The consumer. So I think the aim is if we meet it at the front and try to mitigate the problem and fix it, maybe we get a better. You know what I mean? We get a better. We get better pricing. We get better availability, and we open up the doors and opportunity for other people. There are people who business had to shut down because they just couldn't figure out the logistics. You know what I mean? Like I've gotten a lot of clients like that who I couldn't even help. It was out of my hands. But I feel like if we have things like this and we bring everybody into the same room, it makes it easier for us to fix the problem. So,
dude, that's really inspiring. So I was gonna ask you, what was the moment you stopped seeing that as your mistake and started seeing it as like kind of the industry's?
It took a minute after you've settled in and you've accepted that, okay, I think that was when I made the decision to go in. Then I looked at it, I'm like, oh, you know what? It really isn't. I looked through, I'm like, is there anything I could have done to stop or fix this? I mean, not really, because, yes, maybe you can still pick a few things, but either way, it'll still boil down to the industry. Like whatever you do, you still got to respond to the market. So there was little I could do to prevent it, other than maybe just not do the business or just not, what I mean? That's the only thing. I could just choose not to participate. But there was after I sat with it and it dawned on me, I was like, you know what? There was not much to do, but now there is an opportunity for us to do something about the problem though. And it wasn't that long afterwards. And after that, I was just re-energized, man. It was like, okay, now I got a real bone to pick, pretty much. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right.
Most most would just kind of like tighten their process and then keep going, right? So why build infrastructure?
Because I realized that was one way that would at least alleviate, like from our estimation, like 70% of that problem could be alleviated with the proper and the right infrastructure, right? And the infrastructure I'm talking about is more like it has to be more of an open, not necessarily open source, but it can be siloed pretty much, right? It has to feel like like at the minimum, what I thought is, you know what? If I had gotten like just let's open it up, which is transparency, build trust, build a singular language that everybody speaks, no matter what country you're in, which means like no matter what part of the chain, no matter what part of, I guess, the role you play in the supply chain, if you can still speak the same language, which means the same record is being moved all through, right? So that means less of those errors, like those mistakes where someone gave me a bill of lading and a O, instead of an O, it was a zero, right? But they were trying to read it with their eyes and type it and write it. So it gets mistranslated. So now you alleviate those unnecessary, and that thing, as little as that, you'd be surprised how much it'll cost you. And that's on a small scale. Imagine the bigger guys, the big corporations that it runs them millions. They lose millions on it. So I think for us, it was looking at it from that perspective of if we, can get everybody to sort of like agree, what I mean, on a level and speak the same language. Stop all this silo stuff. There's no need for it. Like it is still, it's not protecting much. It's costing you more. You think you're protecting because you keep your little book. There's bigger books for you to get. There's bigger opportunities out there. You open it up. You allow for more global collaboration. Then at that point you streamline your process and you'll be good. So for us, I think that was the realization, and that's what's powering what we're doing here at Kargoplex.
And when you decided to build, right, like what did you believe was true that nobody around you agreed with?
Well, I think, let me think of that a little bit. What did nobody agree with? One of the things though, and I had this conversation because one time during the collision event, I met with Ryan Peterson, and yeah, like we actually he actually for some reason I would consider us competitors, but I guess he wanted us to do the UFC pose for some reason, and I'm like, we're not really competitors. I'm a fan. I'm like, I actually would want to see you succeed because your success affects me too. Like, because at the end of the day, I'm a neutral party in this. I'm just the infrastructure. He's technically a forwarder, so he's a player and he could work with me. You know what I mean, right? But because he's a digital freight forwarder, that's what Flexport is, right? And we need that. So it would even make a lot of my job easier. It's just he alone cannot solve this problem. You might solve it for a small size of the market, or like maybe let's say, okay, I've solved for the US, the California to China route or something, because now we own the vessel. But that's not. What about the Lagos to Rotterdam? What about the Shenzhen to India? Like who's gonna solve for this? Like what I mean, because at the end of the day, your products are not always coming from the same place. Even from China, it still has to come from somewhere there. China has to get the raw materials from Africa to China to do the manufacturing before they get it to you. So if there's an issue on this other part of the supply chain, you're gonna feel it. You didn't really solve much, right? So a forwarder, I think that was one of the things I was trying to like. Everyone is trying to build a better forwarder, and I think that's the wrong shape. You know what I mean? And the other thing that I was saying, because people don't lose like to the other forwarders. Like people are not losing business to like the Flexports or the forwarders or all that. I think a lot of them they're losing it to inertia, right? Like the real competitor is the email plus the WhatsApp plus the Excel sheets and the paper books and stuff like that, right? So trying to get people to see that, I think, has been some of the little bit harder things for people to agree, because they always feel like I'll just build this, I'll build a nice trucking system and that's amazing. I think for me, I'm like, okay, I don't even want to follow you guys, and I could go last mile, I could go like I think I want to come out to like, let's come out to the bigger picture. The good still has to come from somewhere to the country before you start doing all the trucking and everything, right? So if there's nothing to truck, what are you doing as a business, right? So rather than look at it that way, I don't even think at this point, I think the space is so big enough that we need more people, we need more minds, we need more like it's not enough. We need more people to come in, and not come in at the same saturated level of like last mile or like the trucking, even though we need those people there. But I think you got some people also got to go to the stores, go to the source, the starting line. Some people got to stay in the middle, and then some people got to focus on the last mile. And everybody got to work with the same mindset of, listen, all we got to do is fix the pipeline first. Once we do, now we can start competing for market share or something. I think at this point, trying to compete so much for market share a little bit is premature, because you have your segment and you're going to keep it, but the other guy is going to know, oh, that's what we're doing, so I'm going to keep my part. And then this other guy is going to be, I'll keep my part. Then we're still back at the same place. Yes, better technology, but still the same problem, just in a nicer suit. That's what it is. So I think if we really focus on building that, which I think is some of the, I have a lot of theories around this, and maybe I need to do a better job of wording them out properly, but like, or writing a whole memorandum on it. But I think ultimately my vision and what I see is we got to fix it. And for me, I'm happy to just work with whoever. I'm happy to, and I think we need more people like that to like let's fix the problem first. Don't be scared. Don't think it's gonna take away your business. It's actually gonna you're losing a lot of business. Like like I was telling, I had there's a conference I hosted in Nigeria, I think a couple of years ago with some other partners in the industry, and we did some research and we realized that every year the port, the Lagos port, was losing $20 billion every year to guess what? Guess what was costing them $20 billion, bro? It was they were
Hmm.
losing $20 billion to congestion.
Wow.
So yeah, like and
Shit.
guess what was bringing the congestion? Because they were chasing pennies. So they were chasing pennies, bribery, all these little pennies that they're trying to
Shoot.
pocket, and losing out on the bigger pocket because what ended up happening was a lot of the shipping lines ended up going to other ports, like like the MSCs, and they're not going to sit there every time they're sitting there, they're burning money. So what they did is they realized due to that congestion, we'll just go to Lome in Togo or somewhere, we'll drop our cargo there. And remember, every time you unload somewhere, you're paying port duties and offload duties as a carrier, right? So all that money that should have been coming to the port is going to other ports, and then later we have to go figure out how to barge the cargo here, which is extra money. But like just ordinarily on the cost that's coming in due to congestion, and ask them why. Whatever money you're chasing on this land or whatnot, I promise you it is not up to even $1 billion. So you're chasing maybe even whatever it is in bribery or whatever it is that they do. And I don't know what's causing congestion. I think a lot of it, I've seen a lot of madness in there. And a lot of it has to do with people just wanting to line their pockets or wanting to make sure they exert their own, like, they want to protect their own, whatever it is. And in doing that, look at if that 20 billion was to come in and you guys even decide to divide it amongst yourself, that's even way better and it's easier. You don't even got to stress. That's a lump sum you could just take and leave the poor masses alone. You get what I mean, right? So seeing things like that sometimes just baffles me in the industry,
But
man.
but,
I'm like,
but how do you solve that problem? I don't get it. Like meaning, like I get that problem exists, mm, but that guy who's eating the bribe,
yeah.
he's not going to get a part of that billion because that billion goes to maybe the CEO of some company, and who knows if it gets to him. So, how
You
does
get it.
how does the introduction of your company solve that problem?
Like I'm not proposing that people should do bribery or whatnot. But in the same process, because no matter what it is, because the money still comes in, and maybe bribery is not the right term, because there is some lining up maybe there. But like at the end of the day, remember the money comes into the pocket of whoever, and it's all the government officials or whoever. It's going to go up the chain, right?
Right,
And
right.
that's really the people who are truly. It's not the collector. That's really the collector
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
really care. It's really the guys up there who insist that you must collect it and come and bring it up to us so that we can have something, right? And I'm saying, why focus on that when there's this one? But I guess because they're so
Yeah.
short-sighted, they focus on this one. And for us, we think the problem would be like, listen, like people. I'll tell you for instance, a lot of people don't ship or don't import or export because of this madness. The uncertainty of the process discourages them, right? So let's calculate. If we do a map, I wish we could do, which is what we're gonna see when we open up the funnel and see exactly what it is. Like it's like, and you see the beauty of what happens now with the fintech in Nigeria who are booming when they went and opened up and streamlined the whole and made it easier for people to send money abroad, right? And they did the math and they realized, oh my lord, like a lot of expatriates, I mean, not a lot of expats, a lot of people in diaspora are actually sending billions. So a lot of
Yeah.
people in diaspora are actually powering the economy. But before they were trying so hard to stifle it, and because the banks are trying to fight for their little share, open it up, it'll come in, and then once it comes in, you can still figure it out. So I think for us, it was like get it in. We would like let's get rid of this congestion issue, right? And a lot of it is obviously get rid of limit the corrupt people who are trying to pretty much like create bottlenecks, but also the process, fix the process within this place, and this is where the software, the system comes in play.
What does like the operating layer for global shipping mean concretely to like a freight forwarder on, let's say, a Tuesday morning? Can you kind of like go a little bit deeper now?
Sure. So the operating layer would be some like moving them away. Now you have this. uh, singular platform, and I'll give you all the different stuff we have. So we have, it's almost like there's a SaaS layer to it, obviously, as well, right? Where a forwarder now has this, even the SMB forwarders. So we're talking about, this is tools that's usually reserved for like the big guys. And we say, no, get everybody on the same level, at least on the foundational level, right? And get them to have a system that they can use to manage their processes, their operation. You get their teams on board, everything is there. So we're giving them all the tools that would have cost them maybe millions to go build. And we're saying, you know what, here are these tools. You can like, manage your shipping. You can track on that. You can manage your rate sheets. You can collaborate with other forwarders. So I can even post. Forwarders have sort of like, we have this social effect that we have. Obviously, we're trying to build a network effect. So forwarders can collaborate easily. I can have a shipment, and I've had a lot of forwarders who have lost business like that. Like I ask them, why don't you ship to let's say Kenya, for instance, or to Indonesia? Well, I don't know anybody there, like who has to help me on the destination side of it, right? So most forwarders always limit themselves to where they have the two nodes. So I have to have the origin node and the destination node to be able to coordinate, right? But if I could get me, but there in Indonesia, there are lots of forwarders. You just need to be able to collaborate with them. You just need to tag. It's like I just need to tag you. Hey, let's do a group work on this project. The project is we need to send this from here to there. I handle the origin aspect of it. You help and handle the destination part. We split whatever it is as whatever the profit is or whatever the cost is there, right? So you have a tool now that does this seamlessly for you, which means you don't have to go off site to go do this. They're all in the same network. So you use the same network to process your shipping and when it gets to that part, you need a custom clearance agent. Over here, boom, tagged. He'll come in, do the custom clearance. It's still your shipment. You're still the owner. But now you're having help. You're having people support all across the world. So now it opens up your market. We have shipment leads now, right? You no longer have to go out there hunting and chasing down leads. There's a board. You go there, you see people, shippers who want to ship goods all over. You can just come there, offer your rates, give your quotes and stuff. So that, and then many other tools we have, like, let's not forget the AI agents now who will now help you with your documentation. They help you, they like this extra check for you. They can build your documentation for you. They can verify documentation. They can track and give you real-time updates, not just to you, but to your clients. You don't even have to touch nothing, So this allows you to really focus on the real, maybe the more manual aspect of it. If it's lifting the containers and loading it up till we get robots to do that now. But like for now, drive your forklift, load up the container. But once it's there and it's recorded in the system, everything else now gets handled by the AI. So that's really what we're trying to build. And then that cargo now can touch multiple people and still be the same. So you just add it on it. It's like almost like think like a blockchain type technology, right? Where it just moves through the chain, right? And any change and this obviously where we're trying to go. We've had conversations with Maersk before around it. They're also thinking about it with the e-bill of lading. And we're like, yeah, it needs some sort of blockchain technology in it just to make sure things are like, to maintain, I guess, less corruption on data and stuff. So there's a lot, but ultimately that's what we're trying to build at this point. It's a tool that helps you carry out your process, but also helps you generate revenue as well, and helps you collaborate and expand globally. That's what we're building as an operating layer. So just think of it like the way a typical operating system, right? Once you do it, I've set up a mic. It's up to the developers now. What do you want to do within it? But the OS is capable to handle whatever you need, and it's all gonna, be the same. It's no longer siloed. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing.
Cool. Well, like Bitcoin blockchain, that's obviously my world. So I'm super fascinated. And this is such a big problem. And I think you and I were talking about this earlier as well. It's a bit of a boring problem. I think it's not as sexy. So a lot of people kind of overlook it. But when you listen to how big it is and how massive it is and how impactful it is, you can't help but obviously tune in. So I got a question for you. You brought this up earlier. Your agents quote and book over WhatsApp, Instagram, Telegram, right? So why meet the industry where it already is instead of forcing, let's say, a new tool or a new UI?
Just I guess human nature sometimes comes into play where you have to understand that it's I guess also for us as a quick way to as a quick route to adoption, right? It's like it's easier for us to meet them over there than really do the pre. Like the ultimate aim is they will see the need to like move, but like we felt like what, if we have the capability, it's easier probably for us to come to you guys than you guys to come to us. So we'll come to you guys, right? So that was pretty much it. It wasn't anything like ultimately we think they get the best and the fullest of the advantage and the benefits being on the system, on the platform. But the beauty of what we have now is, hey, that doesn't have to happen on day one. From day one, we can come to you. It's no problem.
Amazing.
We're building our MCPs now. We're gonna come into your different AI, whatever AI solution. You don't even have to necessarily come to us. We'll come to you. But
Nice.
ultimately, it's like one of those things. Once you see it and you've gotten a taste of it, there's a funnel to get you into the platform, into the system, because you will need to get the full benefit. Other than that, you're just gonna get in like a sort of like a trimmed down version of it. But it works because ultimately for some people that's what they need. I just need to quickly. I want to get a quote. I want to book it. Go ahead, book it. But the things that we've yet to figure out yet, like we're limited obviously with the channels as well. Is like things like payment. For things like payment, we got to port you out, right, to process it, because now it's more sensitive, right, than just going through WhatsApp. Although I've seen a sample of WhatsApp allowing a company process payment through WhatsApp. So as they advance to as well, we just tag along. But ultimately, is we're coming to you regardless. So we have it already on WhatsApp, on Telegram, and Instagram is coming up next. And then we just keep expanding the channels wherever we see our users are. That's where we're just going to come to.
Hey, Nnamdi, I'm just continuing. I know I'm way over my time. I hope you're okay with that. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna. We have a lot of people listening, and I'm really enjoying the conversation. I have quite a few questions left, so if you're okay, let's just keep rolling. But just give me the sign if you need to hop.
let's keep rolling.
Um, Cargo pool consolidates air and ocean shipments, right? So what becomes possible once that consolidation exists that could essentially not exist before?
So now it makes it easier. I mean, obviously, it saves people a lot of money, which means now people can actually carry out like businesses. Like, and I'll use a typical example just to make it clear. Like, I had a business who shut down because they had to purchase a 40-foot container at the time when that was during COVID. So when containers had jumped from 2,000 to like 30,000 coming from China to Toronto, and they just had half a container, right? So they're not even maximizing the container, they're wasting it. So they had to like basically kill the business because it didn't make any sense financially. But that's what people face today. Like if I wanted to, let's say I'm bringing this equipment, but the equipment only takes like a quarter of the container. If I don't have anybody else, I got to pay for that whole container, and you got to factor that into the cost or into your business, right? So for us, we think cargo pool opens up options to a lot of people in terms of moving cargo, and this is beneficial to people who, like right now, they have to pay exorbitant amount to air cargo some of their goods, even though they don't need it urgently, right? But they don't have any other option because I'm not just going to take this big drum that's heavy and put it in a container. I might as well just pay this. But when you have things like the consolidation, especially on air, and it saves you costs because one of the beauty about it is that we leverage volume now, right? So leveraging volume and that cost saving gets spread down to everybody. And I'll give you a perfect scenario that we had. Talking to like some of our air cargo freight carriers, it was a typical, let's say, a typical rate. If you go negotiate a rate with an air cargo line, right, which a lot of freight brokers do, I could come to and be like, you know what, I can guarantee you, I'm going to get you 10,000 kg, right? So if you tell the airline, if you're going to give me 10,000 kg, I'll give it to you at $2 per kg, right? As opposed to if I just came with like 1,000 kg, for instance, maybe it's $10 per kg, right? So now, as a and this is what a lot of the forwarders, but like now you gotta hustle to get a 10 kg just to take advantage of that rate. And if you don't have up to that, forget about it. If you have 9,000 kg or 8,000 kg, you don't lock that rate is not locked into you, right? But imagine if you could leverage the network, which means you bring your 1,000 kg, I bring my 1,000, you bring your, and we consolidate that into a 10,000 kg. Now we get the $2, and the airlines don't mind because for them it's less headache. they don't have to deal with 10 different people. I deal with one person, which is a lot of time why they charging you those amounts. It's too much logistics, right? So if someone else comes and say, you know what, I'll be the consolidator, the aggregator, and I will build up this like Voltron of kgs and take that and like I mean and then now we all take the 2 kg. They don't care who owns it. All they see is 10 kg, 10,000 kg, right? And we take the $2. Even if it ends up as part of the cost, it's at $3 now, and there's $1 for the processing fee or whatnot. That's $3 for everybody. Now it opens up shipping, and now it's cheaper for people to do business. So now, if you're that business who has to worry about, I'm a designer, or the people, the fashion designers now who have this. I'll use Africa as an example. There's a lot of African fashion designers who are trying to build from over there and bring over here for their clients. But sometimes when they factor in the shipping cost, it's crazy, and the clients are complaining. But now I just have 2 pieces of clothes, but you can tag onto the full Voltron of that kg, and I pay almost the same rate I would have paid as if it was local mailing, right? So I think that shows an example, like leveraging the volume for sure, saving costs, making it possible now for people to ship without worrying too much about filling a container or wasting space. There's all these things. And then if you look at that too, on the planet, on the planet level too, that also helps now, because now that's less consolidation, helps with the the whole going green that everybody's trying to go. Because now, why are we all heading the same place? How about we just carpool and share the same containers, share the same ride? You got empty spaces, I got empty spaces, but now we got to do 10 different shipments as opposed to one that can just go sync. So a lot of these things too all add up. So I think there's many benefits. I've not even listed all of them, but these are some of the main ones at the forefront.
That's
Of
wild.
why consolidation is great.
So now to get to kind of like the pinnacle here of the conversation, to speak to our title as well, right? So you walked away from what, like a $60 million a year contract because the infrastructure wasn't ready. Can you kind of talk me through that decision?
Yes, it was a very hard decision, and I didn't just. I don't want to lie and say I just walked away. Like it was, I fought hard. I fought hard to like. And at some point, I realized, it's a huge contract, and there are legal implications with it, and I don't want to end up, while we just starting and then we end up drowning because we bit more than we could chew, right? And it's not more than we could chew, but the industry made it seem like it was more than we could chew at the time, because, like I said, the infrastructure was missing. But we had a contract. It had to do. I'm not going to give too much details about it, but it had to do with Guyana, like during the oil boom that they found, and we through my networks and whatnot, we ended up securing a contract to supply gravel, basically to ship. They needed constant supply of gravel because they got a contract to build some of the roads that they were doing over there. So they had to do all of that, and we ended up getting the contract. And we tried everything we could. I mean, for every single issue we were solving, and it was like every single issue we solved, another one spawned, and we had to go fix that. And then we hit the last one that was just like it's like the Goro of all the problems. It's like this you cannot go through, like, type situation. You would, at that point, we would have to. It required us having to basically go build a vessel, pretty much, like, or custom build a vessel at that point, right? And I'm like, this is beyond us at this point, right? I mean, you would think, and it kind of existed, but also us being, I think it's just an entry game. Like, we're the small guys, we're coming in, making all this noise, thinking we're gonna fix it. Obviously, the big guys are like, "Oh, who are you guys?" Like, so we don't have as much pull in the space too as well at the time, and I think we just weighed everything together, and we just decided at that time it was an honor to have, but we kind of have to bow and pass it on to someone else. But guess what? Nobody still solved it till today. The person who was also waiting, I think they had to go with the other option, which is then they were trying to avoid that, which is to quarry the stone over there. But the quality of the gravel there was not good, which is why they were trying to import it and bring it, right, to do the. So I think that was the alternative they went with, because there was one of those problems. I was like, I shopped. I even, and that shows the power of the collaboration, because I called many, like, I mean, I'm talking about, I had a former executive at DHL even on there. Like, I like, because I met him. He's now, I think he he does something with what's the shipping line now around Africa. He's something with Africa. Like so, I think we met at a airport lounge and we were flying on the same flight, and that's how we got talking. And I was like, oh man, look at this Providence. All right, here's my problem, you know. And we took it together, and he made calls. So I had massive hope, and still, it just we couldn't. Some of the problem was just you just couldn't beat it. Like the problem too had to do with Guyana too as well. They were just developing as well, so they were not super ready. Like the other options we had, for instance, the draft for their ports was not deep enough to carry the kind of vessels that would supply such a load. So it was many problems like that we started hitting, and it was like, you know what, let's just focus on. We'll get back to this. It's a good sign and it's a good indication of where we're going and how badly the industry needs people like us to come in there and fix this problem. But let's just start. Let's get to a level where at least we know we're good. We have enough pool, for instance. Like so, and that's one of the other things. Like we need pool because, like I said, ultimately, what I tell you in the beginning is a people's problem. Like at some point, you still have to deal with people, which means people gotta trust you. People gotta think you're like and then they will follow your recommendations. They'll follow your pool. Other than that, they might not want to listen to you. You know what I mean? Sometimes, and that's just the name of the game.
And what stops something like a Flexport or like a carrier itself from copying the consolidation play tomorrow?
Like Flexport for sure can copy it because for them they're in a different segment. They would have to basically then revamp their whole thing because they are positioned as a forwarder, right? Not a neutral player. We are a neutral player, right? And our carrier will still not want to. I think they're not going to want to, because it'll be like what's the right word that I'm gonna. It'll be as if. Like they're not going to want to not commoditize, but their rates, like they're little because to do something like this, it's an open market, which means like if you're a carrier, for instance, are you okay with the fact that if I'm MSC or MERS, are you okay with the fact that you display your rates and then you can also display your competitors' rates on there as well? You get what I mean, right? Like they're not gonna. That goes against their business because now it's like they're marketing the other guys, right? So a lot of them end up siloing themselves, which is why some of them build their new APIs and the tech, but they're opening it up and exposing it for people like us. So think of it like in the flight industry. I'll use that because one of the startups I worked in was in the flight industry, and we built before we got bought out by Flight Center. And it got me into the whole concept of GDSs, like the global distribution. And you should go look up the history of how the global, like the Sabre and Amadeus and all those guys came about, Virtuoso and those guys, right? The global distribution system, how it powers the whole flight and the travel industry. It's like this huge bunkered computer or something that started and was really, So what happened was at some point, even the flight industry knew they needed that. They needed something that was a way that was neutral and central. So that's the global, it's like a repository where we come and we drop, so that it's easy for us to collaborate. So that's why you have all these new alliances now, and it's easy. Lufthansa can work with British Airways, can work, and they can pass and code share, right? So for us, I think that is a difference. Like for those guys, they will have to become a neutral party, and they're not a neutral party. They have a position in the chain, right? And they want to maintain it, but they also want to be able to. So that is where we come in. We're the neutral party where we're not an operator. We're just bringing everybody together. So we come like an aggregator when it comes to things like rate sheets, right? Which means, hey, you bring and may the best man win. So think Kayak, think Booking.com, think Expedia and those guys. That's what they're doing. So you have all these files. You come to a singular central place, and because at first, and if you read the story, I think what's his name, Paul English, right? Which is one of my. It was inspiring when we were building this because I read up his story of how he built Kayak and the way he went about it, like very unconventional. You should definitely check it out. Like so he did the same thing because that's how they started. He would start by posting and pasting people's stuff and making sense on. At first, he was going to, and then after a while, you found out that the airlines were the ones now coming to him now. To hey, like we need, because you can think you're gonna stay siloed forever, but whoever decides to come out to play, that's the person the whole market is gonna go to. So at some point, you have no choice. You have to also bring your best out. Now you have everybody now giving access. Okay, here are our rates. Here's what it is like. So now they come because Kayak was positioned almost like a search engine for flights before Google Flights, right? So it's like you come there, you see we're neutral, and then whoever let the users pick whatever they want to pick, and then you can position yourself and set up your rates based on the market. So basically, all of that to say, like, yes, those guys will have to basically reinvent themselves. So they have to either abandon being an operator, and Flexible will no longer be a forwarder, to play in this space. But the moment if you're an operator, you're already biased in the market, so it won't work. So you have to either not be an operator for it to make sense. And
No, that makes sense.
There's so much investment in there, it won't make any sense for them to try to do that and get rid of all their assets for what. So we're going the slim, the easy way. Yeah.
So now, freight is one of the largest kind of last giant industries running on unstructured messages, right? So why has nobody solved this already?
Because I really, to be honest, I asked the question a lot of times. I didn't know. I didn't think I was the one to solve this problem. I thought someone would have. I searched and searched and searched. Like when the idea first hit me, it took a while before I started. I think that was the delay. I should have probably started from day one. But I just felt like, nah, someone's got to be working on this already, or I don't know. I think maybe there's just too much money for them where they are, and they're very comfortable, and they don't feel the need to want to change, or there's not enough minds. Because I think a lot of the revolutionary minds are going into all these other spaces. Like, which is why I said we need more of those people, right? The reason why we have everything being revolutionized right now, everybody's trying to disrupt. Everybody's trying to disrupt some of these other industries, ed tech, health tech. Like, it's because you have people who are asking questions who are like, why? We don't have a lot of minds in this, and the incumbents or the people who are there are comfortable. They're fat. They're easy. They don't even know what's possible. Like, I talked to some of them, and I think there was one I shook my head. I think I was at a conference in Dubai. I think the Global Freight Summit, and there was this. I won't call their name because I won't get sued. But like, there was this whole large player in the space, and they came out bragging about how, oh yeah, and when they were saying one of the things you've done is that, yeah, finally now we've gone from this to REST. Like basically the API has gone from what was the other one they were using before? SOAP or whatever, or D. There's another one that is in the shipping industry. Anyway, whatever that one is. They've gone from SOAP to REST, and they're making it like a huge announcement. Like, and I get it, and I'm like, these are the people running our industry. Like, do you know when? Like, that's not a flex. That's not a flex at all. Like, you should have, with the billions you're making, all you have to do is hire a nice MIT graduate and tell them, hey, revamp my system for me. They would have done that for you at nothing. But that goes to show you, like, these guys think a fax machine is the greatest invention, like, in their space. You know what I mean? And it's no diss to them, but like, that's the minds of the people there, and we don't blame them. If we, the ones who know better, if all of us who know better don't decide to come in there, so for me, I think that's one of my major calls. Like, in the future, as part of what we see this, like, I think I mentioned this before, like, we're not only building for now, we're building for the future. Literally, that's who my focus is on. My focus is on the kid who's in high school right now, right? He's gonna come out, and obviously a lot of jobs now are being replaced by AI. So we gotta think outside the box now, right? Maybe it's time for you to start thinking, maybe we need more physicists. We need more scientists to come into logistics, come into a very, don't look down on the industry because it's not, it's not as, you think about it as a physicist. What are you thinking? I want to go and I want to go explore space. I want to do this. I want to do that. And that's awesome. We can't all do that. We still need someone who would come and fix the industry that's going to have to supply some of those materials you're going to use to build your spaceship, right? So at the end of the day, I think the more minds we get into the space, right, the more now we can actually tackle and ask questions. And that's all I'm doing. So for me, I just want to be that catalyst, pretty much, to make it at least easy, make it sexy enough for you to even want to, like, all right, because it's also a lot of nuances to it. There's a lot of, like, how do you know there's a difference between the clearance in Canada versus clearing in US. Even within the states, different states have different policies, different rules. So how, it starts to become too chaotic for someone, and they'd be like, probably like, no. But if you streamline it or make it easier for them, which is where the AI comes into play and whatnot, and all these tools, then now they can take the rest and just give them the building blocks, and then they'll do the rest, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of my goal as well with this show, right? Is to just enlighten people about all the interesting opportunities that are a bit counterintuitive, right? You don't grow up, obviously, maybe hearing about this, but your life is definitely impacted by logistics, right? So, hey, you have like a 33, I think, $1 million Gibraltar contract in play. Like, what has to be true inside Kargoplex before you can, carry contracts of that magnitude?
Yeah, so it's obviously still on the subject of trust. Like our platform and our system and our process pretty much has to truly, remain, as we say, neutral, has to remain very reliable. And people have to truly, I mean, which is what they do, because now that's our role. We're not the facilitator or anything. We're like the broker, with the middle guy, bringing everybody together. And we've seen the difference now. We've seen the back and forth that's going on, because this person is like, well, like, right now it's on hold because it's been sent, not on hold, but it's been sent back to the guys because they want to get rid of. There's a condition as part of the FOB, the Incoterm for the shipment, that needs to be adjusted. Now, there's three parties to this, by the way, or well, four if you include us. We're in the middle, like sort of orchestrating everybody. But like there's the buyer, there's the supplier, and then there's the financier, right? So those three have to agree on something, right? And there has to be trust. So right now they're trying to, and the trust is obviously manual. They have to, it's off, it's off any sort of like neutral platform. People are having to do it manually. So they ask for all this extra stuff because they're trying to build, and they want to make sure, hey, if my money is going in here, I want to make sure it's not, you know what I mean? And this other guy is like, well, if my product is going out, I want to make sure the money is there. I want to make sure, and the supplier is like, well, it's all there, but yeah, but we still gotta see. So unnecessary communication, like you gotta send me this piece of paper, I gotta call this bank and verify it, and I gotta get the lawyer to do this and whatnot. So for us to really, like we're still getting this done, obviously, regardless. But to scale it out, we believe, right? To scale something like this out and make it easy and open is, we would have to make it so that everybody involved at some point would only have to be concerned with us, if you get what I mean, right? It's like, you know what? As long as I'm going through it, think the same way, like, what makes it easy for you to open up your house to a stranger to rent? Because Airbnb has told you that no matter what goes wrong, I got you. You know what I mean? Like, we've vetted these people, and we're sending them for the most part. Now, there might be something, and you don't got to worry. Don't worry. Your house is covered with this insurance. You got this on us, if anything. And you don't even have to fight anybody or argue with anybody. Same thing with Uber. Your order doesn't come in right, don't worry about the restaurant. Just talk to us. We'll sort it out for you, right? So I think for us, we have to really get the system to that level, which means, on our own part, like truly being, like I said, neutral, being reliable, and being trustworthy, and really, like, making sure that people are at ease operating and using our platform. I think once we can spread that out, and a lot of this is really just, it's awareness. And I think as it grows, people, because it's a problem, people need the solution. It's just, if you've had lack of trust, or you've had trust issues all your life, right? It's going to take a little bit of, you know what I mean? You're not just going to drop it up day one. So I think for us, we just have to be those guys who are like consistent and who are on the platform regularly, and then just make ourselves aware. And I think it's a no-brainer. That's the only thing that'll stop it.
And 10 years out, if Kargoplex wins, what does moving a container actually look like?
Oh yeah, it's like, definitely, as we said, as easy as booking a flight, man. Like it would just be like, there should be no difference between moving a flight is logistics. You're just transporting human beings and cargo sometimes, obviously, because you're on your luggages. Those are cargo. So, but they figured that part out because of all the different infrastructures I told you that was built, the GDSs and the collaborative efforts, the code sharing, that the carriers or the players in there decided to finally talk to each other, right? They're like, all right, we can work with each other. At the end of the day, we need the industry to boom. We can't fail. So the more we can do that together, then we could just do regular marketing and regular campaigns and market, fight for the market. So I think in 10 years out, yes, it'll be as easy and seamless as that. It'll open up opportunities for people. Now all you need to think about is you just need to think about the product. Is this product marketable? Is someone going to use this? Don't worry anymore about, okay, but how do I get it in here? Because at the end of the day, it's like the same thing. Same thing as Uber. Like, you travel to any part of the world now. That issue and that fear we used to have before about having to organize our own transportation around is gone, because all we have to check is Uber there, or is whatever. And if Uber is not there, there's a local equivalent of it there, right? So all you gotta do is look at that, and if that's there, that's easy. Even if you're a foreigner, I don't need to have the local currency or know how much it costs, know if I'm being cheated or not. I trust that the platform, the system is like the perfect referee for the whole industry. So I think for us, that would be what we see 10 years from now. It'll be as easy as booking. You would probably be unable to tell the difference, or at least as easy as sending express mail with DHL. That's what we see.
And last question, and thank you so much for going like double my normal time. It's so fascinating, and you've been a great guest. Lots of people are listening as well. So what's the thing about this industry you wish more builders understood before they, try to disrupt it?
Well, I think at this stage, I'll say you really must be passionate about it. It's not. I'll be honest with you. It's not a cash grab. You know what I mean? Like, it's maybe to a certain degree, certain level. If you maybe box yourself into it, but you're not really solving a problem. You're just trying to get a quick money. Which, like I said, just become a player, become an operator in the space. You're good. But I think if you really come in and just, it's. And be patient with it. And I think, and this applies to everybody, I think even investors too sometimes, because when I talk to some of them, I understand, because there's this, it's like your sport, you've been in the AI space, you've been in fintech, so you've seen the rapid adoption and rapid growth and all that stuff. So sometimes I think they think it translates to every industry, and I don't think it translates to logistics. I think this is a behemoth of an industry. It's a very large, and it's not necessarily willing to bow to just whatever you think. You know what I mean? Like, it takes some cajoling, which is why the passion is required. And if you truly are, I 100% promise you and guarantee that it is rewarding. I've seen it. I've tasted it. Like me choosing to do this path, it's not because, like, if it wasn't, it's not just solving the problem as one thing. I also know, I've tasted that side of it. And with barely any infrastructure, with barely any process, just being part of the chaos and the madness, and I still made millions. So to me, I'm like, if that can happen, to really do this, the difference is now we're trying to solve the problem. And I believe if I can solve this, I don't necessarily need to make the most money off it, but I want to make sure I'm a catalyst for solving the problem. So I think most people have to keep that in mind when you come in here, and you really want to, and I'm always excited. There's nobody I see, I don't care. Even if you're my competitor, I'm excited. I'm like cheering you on. I'm like, you know what? We'll fight ahead when we get to the front, when everything is calm. Then we can fight for the market. But for now, I love what you're doing. I love what everybody's doing. And I think more people need to come into space, and people just need to keep that in mind when they do come into space.
Very, very inspiring. Nnamdi, where do people learn more about you if people are interested in, joining the industry or connecting with you? Is it LinkedIn? Where do you live? Mostly.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Nnamdi Okafor on LinkedIn. You'll probably find me, or search for the Kargoplex page, and from there you can link me. Or you can also find us on Instagram, same thing, at Kargoplex. Actually, all social media at Kargoplex. Or my personal, you can find me on Instagram at The Freight Founder.
Nice. So, okay, awesome. And then, sorry, did you share the website as well? Kargoplex.com?
Yeah, so the website is kargoplex.com, yes.
.com. Awesome. Yes. Cool. Thank you all for tuning in. Nnamdi, hang out for 1 minute. I'm going to bring this stream to an end. And yeah, until next time. Cheers, everyone.